is such an honor to be here with you all today. I was 24 years old when my friend Sam Carter looked me in the eye and he said, "Emily, you live in a different New York City than I do." Sam and I grew up together, we went to college together, we lived in New York together, but unlike me, Sam was never preyed on his way to work. He never had to play along when people made advances towards him during business meetings, and he never felt unsafe just walking down the street in broad daylight. Nope. Sam was a man, and when he told me that he lived in a different New York City than I did, I knew he was right, and it felt deeply unfair to both of us. So Sam and I, along with 5 of our friends, resolved to change it. And it was 2005, and we'd heard the story of a young woman named Thao Nguyen. Thao was riding the New York City subway when an older man started to prey on her. She responded by pulling out her cell phone camera, which was a newfangled device back in 2005, and she took his picture so that they would have evidence to give to the police. But when she took it to the police, they ignored her. They didn't even file a report. So Thao, what she did next was a game changer. She put that photo up on Flickr, where it made it to the front cover of the New York Daily News, which is a local tabloid. It ignited a city-wide conversation. It felt like everyone either had a story or they knew somebody who had a story. My boss at the time had been preyed on by that exact guy. And we thought, all right, why don't we create a blog so that everyone can do what Thao did? We called it Hollaback, and we accepted stories and photos of street harassment in New York City. And our little blog hit a nerve. And immediately after launching, we were overwhelmed with requests from people around the world saying, "I want to bring Hollaback to my town too." And folks thought we should become what they called at the time the Craigslist of street harassment, accepting stories from around the world. But we knew that if you wanted to create social change, you couldn't just have a little blog. You needed to have local, on-the-ground leaders. And so we figured out a way to take our model and to give it away. Today, we're a nonprofit supported solely by people like you, and I'm proud to announce that we have trained young people in over 49 cities in 25 countries in 20 different languages, including places in the Middle East like Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. And this year, we expanded to address online harassment too. The problem with harassment is that you don't actually ever know when it's going to happen. It could be on your way to work, as you're checking your inbox, during the hall, as you're changing classes at school, in the gym, before work, at a bar, during happy hour, or at home in bed, as you check Facebook before you go to sleep. And not only do you not know when it's going to happen, you also don't know when it's going to escalate into something worse. Internationally, studies show anywhere between 60 and 99% of women experience street harassment at some point during their lives. 1 in 4 young women between the ages of 18 and 24 will be stalked online, and 1 in 4 women will be assaulted during college. And although harassment is predominantly something that impacts women, it's a feeling that I think resonates with everyone. Now, if you'll join me here, I want you to raise your hand if you've ever, even for one small moment in your life, been made to feel less than by somebody else. Me too. Now, I want to go back for a minute. I want you guys to take a second and just remember what it was like to be a kid. I want you to remember the first time that you were ever made fun of. Maybe it was for what you were wearing, or what your parents did, or for your grades, or maybe it was for nothing at all. And I want you to remember that feeling of worthlessness, of isolation, of loneliness, whatever it was, that pain that even though it happened a long time ago, we still remember it. You can still recall it in your heart. If you could go back to that little boy or that little girl, what would you tell them? You're not alone. This isn't your fault. You're not alone. This isn't your fault. That's not what I told myself when this happened to me when I was 4, when I was 7, when I was 12. But I really, really wish someone had told me. I started Hollaback so that I could tell the world something that I needed so deeply to hear. You're not alone. This isn't your fault. And I know the problem that I'm up here on this stage trying to address seems hopeless. Everyone has told me this problem is hopeless. Everyone has told me time and time again that, quote, it isn't that big of a deal. Even though we all know what the studies say, that harassment leads to anxiety. It can cause depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. I've even seen people commit suicide as a result of the harassment they faced. It can result in needing to change jobs, travel plans, or even move to feel safe. But people kept telling me, this is normal. This is just the way it's always been. This is just what you have to put up with if you want to be a woman in this world. Heck, if you want to be a person in this world, this is what you have to put up with. And I can't accept it because I know that harassment is a very, very, very old problem. But I also know that we are living in a new world. Technology has given us an unprecedented opportunity to shine a light in the dark corners of this long-standing social problem. Never before have we been able to document harassment in real time on the go, and never before have our stories mattered so much. With mobile apps, blogs, and social media, stories are amplified to thousands within minutes, allowing us to remind people that they aren't alone, that this isn't their fault, that they aren't alone, this isn't their fault, faster than ever before. And on our site, we receive stories from girls as young as 7. How many of you have a young woman in your life under the age of 12? Raise your hand. A lot of you. I know I have quite a few. I don't have to remind you this problem is urgent. 50% of girls are harassed before the age of 12. 50%. Now, I don't have all the answers. And technology is not going to solve everything, but it is a start. At Hollaback, we have a free iPhone and Android app where people can report their experiences of street harassment and share that map with loved ones to help them understand the extent of the problem and get the support that you need. And just a few months ago, we launched a new initiative called HeartMob. It's a new platform to address online harassment. If you're harassed online, you can share your story with us and then ask a community of dedicated and vetted supporters to help you out by documenting your abuse, reporting it to the platform where it happened, or just sending you a supportive message. We launched to great applause. We got awesome press from the New York Times and Fast Company, even Cosmo. We won Best New Product of the Year at Netroots Nation, a big conference in the US. And over 3,000 actions have been taken so far to support 600 people who've been harassed. This is a start. It's small, and we can do more. We can do more because we have people like you here today to help. So download the app, sign up for HeartMob, share your story, or if you don't have one, help others who do. And technology is just one little piece of this puzzle here, because in the age of social media where everyone has followers, it changes what leadership looks like, because followers become the new leaders. And at Hollaback, we've trained over 600 leaders around the world, most of whom we've never met, and all of whom are volunteers. We've given them our platform, our apps, and our best practices, and we've worked with them to localize the movement to their communities. Together, we've built a global movement, and we've collected over 10,000 stories of harassment. And we don't all agree on how harassment's going to end, but that doesn't matter, because we do all agree that it must end. And through their leadership, we're making enormous strides. Hollaback London created something called a Good Night Out campaign that trains business owners of bars and clubs and other venues on how to respond to street harassment. And Hollaback sites in over 30 countries around the world worked in partnership with Cornell University to do the first ever cross-cultural study on street harassment. And the Scottish Parliament issued a motion in support of Hollaback Edinburgh and their efforts. And those are just a few examples of the hundreds of volunteers creating change across the globe. You see, making change online, it's not slacktivism, and it's certainly not just about signing a petition or telling your friends about something you care about. It's about bringing a solution to something that used to be considered hopeless. It's about giving a voice to people who used to be silenced. It's a reminder that harassment isn't something that happens to those people over there. It's something that happens to all of us. I want to live in a world when I can simply say good morning to a stranger on the street without worrying that there might be repercussions. We might not be able to end street harassment today. I get it. But I want to live in a world where it's rare. And when it happens, it's frowned upon, not shrugged at. And I truly believe that that begins with taking care of each other. It begins with hearing each other's stories. And it begins with starting to tell our own and to admit what's happened to each of us. I want you to find that little kid still inside of you. And I want you to tell them what they needed to hear then, but didn't have anybody to tell them. And before the end of the day, I want you to find somebody in your life who may be hurting right now. And I want you to tell them that exact same thing, that thing that you wish you'd heard when you were little, the first time somebody made you feel less than. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that sounds scary, or that sounds really vulnerable, or what are you talking about, lady on the stage? And that's just not me. The people in my life already know that I love them. And you're right, they do. They do. But if you're only going to remember one thing from this talk, I want you to remember this. If we're going to end harassment, it's not enough to just not harass. I know you guys are all good people. You're not harassing people, right? But that's not enough. If we're going to end harassment, we need to start by giving each other the kindness that we ourselves need. You're not alone, and this isn't your fault, and I've got your back. Thank you.